Today on the news and why it matters, a former U.S. Attorney General says Bill Barr is unfit to be AG, and you're going to roll your eyes when you hear who it is. Also, a congresswoman promoting fake news about the Jersey City attack and white supremacy. And Don Lemon has a full-blown TDS fit over a meme on the internet. We've got a lot to get into, and it starts right now. Welcome to the news and why it matters. I am Sarah Gonzalez, today joined by TV host extraordinaire, Stu Burgier. I was trying to come up with some creative title for you, but
not quite grand enough, but you can try again later.
Okay, all right, thanks, I appreciate that. Conservative commentator Grant Stinchfield, who is looking extra snazzy today, by the way. I love this.
I figured why not dress up? It's Thursday.
That's a great point. It is. Thank you. It is Thursday. And the Blaze.com's own Aaron Colin. Thank you guys for being here. I mean, you didn't dress up as much, but you still look nice.
Sorry, you didn't tell me.
Do I look really bad like the other times I come on, or is it just...
No, it's just...
He usually texts me what he's wearing, but he didn't.
It's just extra fancy.
Okay, good.
Got a lot to get into. First, we want to thank our sponsor, American Financing. Stu actually worked with American Financing a while back and knows firsthand that they are the go-to for any of your refi, home loan, consolidation, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, I must have called 10 or 12 different places and did a bunch of comparison shopping because I'm obsessive about those sorts of things. And in American Financing was definitely the best place I dealt with. I mean, they walked me through every single piece of it. They told me about all the, all the little clauses and weird things they have in there. A lot of these loans, they told me what to look out for. And they really did kind of bring me through the entire thing, made it very, very easy. And as I've mentioned before, and you like to bring up often, I was looking for kind of a weird,
very irresponsible
loan. And they were like, well, it's not really what we do here. We, do things that are responsible,
sensible.
But if they'll give you that, go ahead, take that. I mean, they basically said, go ahead, take another, go with another company if you want. I mean, it's because, as you mentioned all the time, it's like they're not worried about the commission.
Mm-hmm.
They're salary based. They just go through it and they just give you, here's the deal that we have. We think it's a really good one, and if you want to take it, great. If not, go somewhere else. Yeah. And that's a great way to do business.
You can go to AmericanFinancing.net, or you can call 800-906-2440. That is AmericanFinancing.net. You want the company that is willing to walk away from your business because they want to do the right thing. All right, so. There's an op-ed in the Washington Post today saying William Barr is unfit to be Attorney General. From all people, Eric Holder. Eric Holder, possibly the most corrupt Attorney General in history. He says, as a former U.S. Attorney General, I am reluctant to publicly criticize my successors. I'm sure he's very reluctant, which is why he did it. I respect the office and understand how tough the job can be. And then he goes on, last month at a Federalist Society event, the Attorney General delivered an ode to essentially unbridled executive power, dismissing the authority of the legislative and judicial branches and the checks and balances at the heart of America's constitutional order. His argument rests on a flawed view of history, and he says, virtually since the moment he took office, Barr's words and actions have been fundamentally inconsistent with his duty to the Constitution, which is why I now fear that his conduct running political interference for an increasingly lawless president will wreak lasting damage. The American people deserve an Attorney General who serves their interests, leads the Justice Department with integrity, and can be entrusted to pursue the facts and the law, even and especially when they are politically inconvenient and inconsistent with the personal interests of the president who appointed them. William Barr is incapable of all of this. Interesting.
It's a bizarre way to go. I mean, I guess, look, Eric Holder's an attorney general. He's going to get his op-eds if he writes against another attorney general. So you can understand why he's going this direction. This is a guy who was going to run for president if he had any interest in, if anyone thought it was a good idea other than him, which no one did, so he didn't run. Even when 945 people got in the race, he still didn't think it was a good idea. What's interesting about this, I think, is I think Barr's been a huge asset for the Trump administration for not just, when people say, oh, well, he's defending Trump. I don't think that's the case, but even if you think that's the case, there are people in the Trump administration and in the Trump orbit that are pretty easily criticized. People who, make statements that are a little bit outlandish sometimes, maybe aren't always exactly on on the path to truth. Look, there's some people who do a little spinning in the administration and sometimes aren't always the most buttoned up characters. Barr is the exact opposite.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's been a huge asset to the Trump administration. You listen to his interviews about the IG report that just happened just the other day. He's incredibly convincing. He's calm. He's reasoned. You can tell he has experience. He really knows what he's doing in this job. He's not just out there doing the bad talk show host auto defense of Donald Trump. He is giving you a legally based and reasoned argument that I found very few in the media have had the ability to take apart. And that's part of the reason why I think a lot of the stuff has gone away with Trump. I mean, he's had, I think a really good a voice of reason and a voice that isn't just freaking out over every little thing. And that's been not only, I think, good for Trump, but also good for our, system of laws. There's supposed to be checks and balances, and I think Barr's done a good job so far.
Yeah. Grant, it seems odd coming from the man who was held in contempt of Congress in a bipartisan vote for not overturning documents related to a botched gun walking scandal, that he would be the one saying someone else is unfit to be Attorney General.
Of course, Fast and Furious, which I believe he orchestrated this debacle that got federal agents killed, got numerous people killed. You put guns in the hands of criminals. And like you said, he blocked Congress from getting any of those documents from inside his organization. And he wants to talk about lasting damage. I promise you, between Attorney General Sessions and now Barr, they have a huge task of trying to fix that Justice Department, a Justice Department that Eric Holder single-handedly dismantled and made a mockery of. It's not just that, it's the way he handled terrorists as well. He was weak on terrorism the whole way. He had no respect for Congress whatsoever. Anytime Congress wanted any information, not just on Fast and Furious, but on anything, Attorney General Holder was there to block Congress. This is the height of Democratic hypocrisy. Everything he wrote in that editorial could be turned right around on himself.
Yeah. Aaron, what do you think?
Whenever you hear these criticisms of Barr, it's basically the only way that he could win is if he just criticized Donald Trump, if he threw Donald Trump under the bus. So they're not analyzing, is what he's saying true? Is he laying out the facts of these reports, or whether it's the Russia investigation or this IG report on the FBI? Is it true? In that editorial, he does not lay out any arguments against what Barr says. He just does these broad-based attacks on partisanship and the institution of the Attorney General's office and things like that. And so he doesn't get specific. So it's just sort of a broad political attack in itself and doesn't have any merit in the facts of how he's doing his job.
And it does make me worry that, we're getting to a point in time where we're not going to have good people that want to seek these types of positions, because they know that if they try to call balls and strikes as balls and strikes, they're going to get demonized by one side or the other. And it's like, why would you want to subject yourself to that type of work? You know what I mean?
Yeah, so you have to be the kind of person who can just kind of put out that noise. And I think Barr does a good job of that. He just does what he believes is the right thing to do for his position, for the administration, and he goes about his business, but he doesn't get too caught up in what somebody like Eric Holder is saying about how he does his job.
Yeah, it does kind of remind me of, not completely the same, because James Comey is a piece of human garbage, but it's like, however you come out, if people thought he was coming out for Trump whenever he announced all of the Hillary Clinton stuff, and all of the left was like, we hate James Comey, and then he came out, on the other side, and the left was like, we love James Comey, he's great, and it's just like, you can't win anymore in these tribalistic times, no matter if you're just trying to be objective, which I don't believe James Comey was now. At the time I did. Even if you just try to be objective, you're going to be demonized.
When you think about what Eric Holder did under Barack Obama, and I do believe the fish rots from the head, right? They weaponized that Justice Department. When you think of going after innocent civilians just because you don't agree with their politics, it is everything that is bad with government, and especially big government, bureaucratic government, and of course a deep state that I think was absolutely emboldened by Eric Holder, and of course, Barack Obama.
I think too. I mean, Holder has an incentive to elevate the Barr conflict. I mean, this is a guy who wanted to be president of the United States. He got no reaction to it. Is he a guy that is thinking maybe I can get into the VP race, or maybe I can get into another big cabinet position? Well, if I can make myself the authority and go on every show and talk about how bad Barr is, taking down a very strong pillar of the Trump administration, it's a nice little path to relevance in the Democratic Party. So I think, that's part of this, right? He's incentivized to try to make his mark.
Among Democrats,
Among
but
Democrats.
not amongst anybody with any common sense, not even those who are partisan on the right. Those in the middle or independents are going to look at a guy like Eric Holder and say, come on.
I mean, as long as they have a memory.
As long as they have a
Stretches
memory.
back,
And you know what?
a
Americans have
decade.
very short memories, unfortunately, and they often believe what they're told, which is why Eric Holder does what he does and writes the op-eds that they do, because people will believe it until they're told otherwise, which is why you guys have this show.
All great points, especially that last one there. So the suspect in the Jersey City shooting that left 6 people dead, including 1 police officer, was he was linked today to a Black Hebrew Israelite movement. And he had, of course, published some anti-Semitic posts online, we know now. Interestingly enough, though, Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib tweeted out a link to the Jersey City shooting information and said, "This is heartbreaking. White supremacy kills." Now, she later deleted that tweet when she got called out because, as we now know, it was not a white person who did this, who was linked to this, which makes that a little bit awkward for Rashida Tlaib.
That was the Black Israelites, right? Which, was the same group that was harassing the Covington kids back in the day. It's a very dangerous group. It's been around for a while. I believe it's a named terrorist group, isn't it?
I don't know if it's a named terrorist group, but you could certainly call it, beyond a shadow of a doubt, a black supremacist group.
Sure, yeah.
That is fraught with racism and violence.
It has been described as a hate group by the SPLC, of all places.
I mean,
so.
certainly, right? I mean, there's no doubt about
if
this.
they're saying it.
I think their belief is that they are the actual chosen people, which, hey, I mean, the views are the views, but when you start putting them into effect like this, and they seemingly now, because initially they said they didn't think it was a targeted hate attack, and now they had seemingly an actual bomb that could have gone off in their vehicle. They were obviously prepared with lots and lots of weapons and did target Jews in this attack. So, I mean, it's funny because, if it was what Rashida Tlaib wanted it to be, a white supremacist, this would not be a story that would go away in an hour or a day. This would be a story we'd be talking about for months and months and months and months and months. That's unfortunate because, look, there are really terrible, like her actual statement is true. White supremacy does kill people. It's bad. It's really bad. It's a toxic, awful ideology, and everything that we can do to get rid of it, and it largely that has been done, I would note. But absolutely, we're all in that same battle. And I don't want any part of it. I don't want anything near it. And whenever you see it, it should be, tossed away immediately. But the same thing goes for people like this group who are just as bad, just arguing for a different color.
Yeah. Grant, Rashida Tlaib was not the only one who came out and did the oopsie on the whole, white supremacist, white nationalist. But Joy Behar also went on The View yesterday, just on a national, nationwide television show, spouting the same nonsense. Watch.
You will concede that the nationals, these white nationalists, have been let out of their holes.
It's an awful, divisive time when you're allowing folks to be able to express these kind of views, no matter how they are, no matter what the ethnic, religious bias they have. That's got no place in this country.
It's interesting that this is what they jump to.
Yeah, and they set Governor Christie up, right? Instead of saying, hey, how about we wait until the facts come out? How about we wait until we actually know who the shooters are? I used to work for NRA TV, and this was the narrative that we would report on every day. And you're spot on when you say that the media will now totally ignore this story not because it was 2 black people who were behind these guns, but because it wasn't not just a white nationalist, but it wasn't a Trump supporter. That's what they want. They die for an NRA member, which is, as far as I know, has never been behind any of these attacks. A Trump supporter would be their holy grail in these things, and they would focus on it for days and days and days. The bottom line is this guy behind it was a criminal. He had weapons charges behind him. He shouldn't have had a firearm. You'd see some of them coming out now already yelling about more gun control, gun control, gun control. There are already plenty of laws on the books that shouldn't have allowed this from happening in the first place. The bottom line is if you want to cover stories like this, then do it truthfully, do it honestly, so we can figure out real solutions, not going after good people exercising their constitutional rights, meaning all of us who obey the law and they want to come take our guns over things like this.
Aaron, what do you think?
It goes to show that it lays bare the narrative that people are just jumping on a narrative. They're not worried about the actual crime. They're not worried about the people who are harmed by it. They're worried about how can we use this to further the point that we want to make. So Rashida Tlaib just sends a tweet, white supremacy bad, and moves on. You know, it's like she clearly didn't take the time to invest in the situation to see what happened, what she could do to help it. She just wanted to further the narrative and keep it moving.
I'd be curious if she deleted the tweet.
She did.
I think she did.
She did delete it.
See, it wouldn't even surprise me if she left it up.
Yeah.
Because none of her supporters are going to ever go and actually check and see what is fact and what is fiction.
And what's notable is that she's not going to pay a price for that, right? Like, if we were to come out and it's like, let's just say, an attack happened, and we were like, hey, by the way, this is definitely Muslims. Like, that would not be cool. Like, we should wait until we find out who the hell did it, right? Yeah. It doesn't matter. Rashida Tlaib will never pay a price for that. This is, she kind of gets probably bonus points from a lot of her supporters who will, say she took this tough stand no matter it was right or wrong.
I'll probably say her heart was in the right place or something like that.
Oh, of course.
Of course.
All right, back in a minute with Don Lemon getting triggered. You're not going to want to miss it.
Did you see that story of the woman who got attacked in her car?
In case you guys have ever wondered what it looks like to see a full-blown Trump derangement syndrome meltdown live on national television, we've got that coming up for you. But first, we want to thank our sponsor, realestateagentsitrust.com. As I've talked about on the show recently, we know Realtor, right? But I was like, you know what? We do these ads for Real Estate Agents I Trust all the time. I kind of want to test it out for myself and see if it is as Glenn claims it is. And it really was. You go on, you spend, 5 minutes, you type in your information, you type in your zip code, and you hit send. And we did that, and we had someone call us within 10 minutes, and it was 8 o'clock at night. I wasn't expecting the phone call that evening because I'm like, real estate agents have lives. So, no worries. They'll call me tomorrow. No, he didn't. He called us that night, and we met with him, and he laid everything out for us. He's made it super simple in the process so far. So if you are looking to buy or sell your home, you can go to realestateagentsitrust.com. They've already vetted all of these people for their they're the matchmakers. So for their expertise. So they are doing this full time. They are the top real estate agents in that area.
They don't allow anyone with a life on realestateagentsitrust.com.
That's in the contract that they sign.
Not have a life.
So if you want a real estate agent who doesn't have a life and will only be working all the time, it's in your benefit. It really is. You got to go to realestateagentsitrust.com. Hey, especially any of you who are doing a cross-country move. This is clutch, you guys. You're not going to know where the good areas are. realestateagentsitrust.com. Let them help you. So Don Lemon was very triggered the other night because the Trump team tweeted out a meme. And it was a silly meme, and you're not allowed to be silly on the internet, apparently. It just left poor Don incredibly speechless. Watch.
I am inevitable.
On this solemn day, I recall that the first order of business for members of
What are we in junior high school? Like, what the hell? What is this? Like, what? What? I cannot believe that I'm even having to report this on the news.
You're not.
You don't have to. I promise.
And it's not news.
It's not news.
This is crazy.
I'm pretty sure he just proved their point. It's called a troll. So that you make the other side angry about literally nothing. And he just did it. They just fell right into his hands like they do every single time. It's incredible.
I find it to be incredible, too, that they act as if they're like these hapless victims and like Trump telling them what to say. It's like, don't cover the freaking tweet then. Right. It's your show,
It's
your
a
network.
meme.
Yeah, it's a dumb meme. Like, I agree. Is it dumb?
Yes.
Yeah, of course. It's dumb. That's what the internet is. It's dumb.
Yes.
It's funny, I didn't think it was dumb.
Highly credible. A highly credible account.
I thought that was the truth. He was not saying what was actually going to happen.
They're now going to accuse him of threatening the Democrats.
Of course.
Of murdering
How
them, right?
ridiculous is it too? It's jokes. I mean, come on.
I just get over it. I mean, it's the typical thing of you're giving if you really think it's bad to do silly stuff like that, you're giving the people who are doing it the exact fuel to do more of it, right? Like, I mean, and the goal of the life of a person who's in the meme wars is to get a reaction like that from Don Lemon on CNN. It's like the entire point.
You know, when I was at the NRA, we had these T-shirts printed up that said, "Nothing triggers like truth." And the truth of that little meme is that we will take back the House come the next election. Donald Trump will be reelected, and poof, all this impeachment nonsense goes away. Well, nothing triggers like truth, obviously, and you can see that on the face of Don Lemon.
Yeah.
I thought he could have pointed out, like, the movie didn't end well for Thanos. You could have gone to the plot and said, hey, you know what, that's not good for Trump because he would lose. But he didn't go there. He just was speechless and shaking his head because he was so overwhelmed by the assault of this.
That's a really great point, and I didn't think about that at first.
But one thing I was thinking about,
they could have made him Iron Man, right? Like it could have made him the actual.
Spoiler, sorry. But
he also put his head on Rocky from Rocky 3, which is the only movie he actually lost in a knockout. It's like every other movie, he had one. The first movie was a split decision he lost, and he lost that one other fight. The entire time, you pick the one movie he lost. He's like, there's 65,000 Rocky movies. Pick one of the other ones.
I just find it funny he thinks he has to report on that, and it's like, I know we're all on the internet and we're on Twitter and we look at this stuff, but there's a lot of people who don't care at all about what's on Twitter.
Most people.
When you do a whole segment on a Trump Avengers tweet, I mean, who are you serving with that? I don't know. And he didn't add anything to the conversation. So
he didn't add not even words.
Not even words. That was Don's take.
Well, and to that point, really quickly, there was a report that came out that said that CNN carried only 33% of the IG hearings that were going on, the IG report hearings that were going on, where they said there was blatant, like, terrible, corrupt things going on within the FBI. They only carried 33% of that, but they carried 99.9% of all of the impeachment hearings.
That's hilarious. I'm surprised it was even that high.
Thanos memes.
100% of Thanos memes. I mean, but really, it really shows you where their head is at and what kind of narrative they're trying to portray when they're covering 99.9% of the impeachment hearing, and they're covering, as you said, 100% of not just Thanos, but any Trump tweet ever. But when we want to get to really the bottom of corrupt, State Department, FBI, anything like that.
There was an interesting poll out the other day, which I think tells a lot. I'm not a big fan of polls, right? But this one was interesting. It said of moderates, the majority of them get their news from Fox News, that they do not go to CNN or MSNBC. Now, those are the keys to winning this election, right? We know Trump supporters are going to all come out in force. It's the moderates. And if they're getting their news from Fox News and deciding not to go to CNN or MSNBC, that means the majority of Americans are on to the bias of the mainstream media.
All right, back in a minute. I hope that's true.
Me too. I don't know.
It's hard to separate. Coming up in overtime, Trump has signed an order targeting anti-Semitism at universities. We will get into that and, of course, get the guy's very, very insightful commentary on the matter.
I don't have any more insightful commentary. I do have commentary, but
not insightful
anymore.
See, I got tons.
Okay, all right. So you'll make up for him not having any insightful commentary. Also, Wall Street Pete, hashtag Wall Street Pete trends as Pete Buttigieg faces criticism for closed-door fundraisers. And I also saw that hashtag refund Pete was trending because people want a refund from the campaign, which I don't think that's how that works.
Can we talk about, too, how BuzzFeed was accusing him of not being gay enough? I found that to be a really fact.
Wait, just recently?
Yes, just yesterday it came out that he's not gay enough.
That is woke.
Do you have insightful insight on that?
Yes, I'll walk you through the entire thing.
That is really, really woke.
Paywall, though.
Oh my gosh. Also, Abortions are magical message placed on pro-abortions outfits. Holiday party favors. Oh, that's so cute. Obviously, a lot to get into. You can only watch it at blazetv.com, though, so you got to go there now, blazetv.com.